Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to kick things off today with a story that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a Hollywood blockbuster, the capture of a sitting head of state. But as you're about to see, the script for this movie was written a long time about. So, picture this. U.S. Special Forces fly into Venezuela, they seize President Nicolas Maduro, and they whisk him away to New York to stand trial. I mean, it's a truly audacious move. And this wasn't some spur-of-the-moment thing. The U.S. Department of Justice had put a massive $50 million bounty on Maduro's head. The official justification? An indictment for narco-terrorism, basically accusing him of using the drug trade to fund terror. Now, just to put that number into perspective for you, $50 million is almost double the bounty that was offered for Osama bin Laden. That really tells you just how seriously the U.S. was taking this. All right, so you've got this $50 million price tag. How in the world did an operation of this magnitude actually go down? Well, it was an absolutely massive show of force. The sources are calling this a joint CIA and Pentagon production. You're talking about the USS Gerald R. Ford, an entire carrier strike group with warships, F-35s, the whole 9 yards. All of this to make sure the mission was over and done in under 3 hours with 0 American casualties. It was designed to be completely and utterly overwhelming.
Okay, so the official charge was narco-terrorism, but if you really want to understand what's going on here, the sources say you have to look way deeper at the historical context.
And to do that, we've got to hop in a time machine and go back 200 years. The story really starts here with the Monroe Doctrine, which was this foundational piece of U.S. policy that basically put up a giant keep out sign for the rest of the world when it came to the Americas.
Now, of course, that idea didn't just sit on a shelf. It evolved. In 1904, you had Teddy Roosevelt add his big stick corollary, which made the doctrine way more interventionist. And all of that brings us right up to today, to what the sources have now dubbed the Don-roe Doctrine, a much more aggressive take on that original idea. And this analogy from the source material just perfectly captures the new tone. A Great Dane is no match for a hungry Rottweiler. Wow. I mean, the message there is pretty hard to miss, right? This isn't about subtle diplomacy. This is about raw, unfiltered power. And look, this whole thing in Venezuela didn't just happen out of the blue. The sources point to this long-established history of U.S. intervention in Latin America, and it seems to follow a very specific playbook. When you look back, man, the pattern is it's right there. You have the CIA-led coup in Guatemala in '54, the Bay of Pigs in Cuba, the backing of the coup in Chile in '73. This kind of thing has been a consistent part of U.S. policy in the region for decades. And get this, you've probably heard the term banana republic, right? Well, it actually comes from this very history. It was coined to describe what happened in Guatemala, where the super-powerful United Fruit Company got Washington to help overthrow a government that simply wanted to tax them and take back some unused land for its own people. So, according to the sources, there's basically a step-by-step guide for this stuff, a standard operating procedure. Step 1, the CIA designs and leads the whole op. Step 2, they find local military officers and get them to turn on their own government. Step 3, they fund a massive media propaganda campaign. Then, Step 4, they destabilize the economy with things like labor strikes. And finally, Step 5, they apply non-stop diplomatic pressure. It's the same script used over and over again. And this brings us to a really crucial point. This Don-roe Doctrine, this operation in Venezuela, it's not just an isolated incident. No, it signals a much broader, much more explicit U.S. policy for the entire Western Hemisphere. And the way they're talking about it, there's nothing subtle here. The source material points to these recent threats, saying Cuba's on its last legs, telling the Colombian president to watch his ass. I mean, wow. Calling Mexico a country run by gangs, and even talking again about a forced sale of Greenland. The list just goes on. But if you want the one quote that just sums it all up, this is it. It's attributed to President Trump in the source material. The key word there is domination. There's no sugarcoating it, no diplomatic doublespeak. It's just a straight-up, clear declaration of intent for the whole region. So, okay, with the U.S. being this assertive in its own backyard, it raises a huge question. What does this mean for everybody else, for the global balance of power? Well, you've got other big players like Russia and China, and of course, they condemn the action. But as the sources point out, what can they really do? When it comes to America's neighborhood, they're pretty much stuck on the sidelines. Geographically, they just can't project that kind of military power.
But here's the twist. The source argues this isn't about everyone just agreeing to stay in their own lane. It's more like the US is saying the Western Hemisphere is ours, hands off. But at the exact same time, the US is still projecting its power all over the globe. Like with the ring of military allies, it has effectively containing China in its own region.
And all of that leaves us with this final, really powerful thought from the ancient Greek historian Thucydides. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. It's a stark quote, isn't it? And it forces us to ask, after more than 2,000 years, have the fundamental rules of power really changed at all?